our friend Jennifer Taub, a professor of Wayne State University Law School in Detroit. You can find her every morning, 8:30 on YouTube with her show, Jen Taub Live. Jennifer, nice to see you. I'm again sorry about your mother passing. You weren't on a couple of weeks ago. Your mom had passed. I'm sorry about that. I hope you and the family are navigating, which is, I know how difficult it is. I just hope you're navigating it.
Thank you, Dean. Yes, and I appreciate that. It's obviously a part of life, but when you lose your mom, it's like nothing else. So.
Very much so. I understand. So look, let's talk something even less fun, if there's even possible, which is the topics I sent you. Look, we are a month and a couple of days into what is the worst administration I've ever lived through. This is worse than the first term. And I don't know why, but it is. And it's by design. So there's a lot of things. Is there one or two things that stand out to you, though, the most concerning?
The most concerning thing is for me how much I see people losing hope in imagining that, that the worst that we think he is capable of is inevitable. And people saying, oh, well, there'll never be any other elections, and I think we really can't have that fatalistic attitude. And I think we need to understand that, it's kind of like, the ruby slippers when all Dorothy needed to do was click them together and say, there's no place like home. All we need is a handful of Republicans to come to their senses. And if they won't, then we just need to get out into the streets and protest when the time is right for us, because this is going to get worse before it gets better. And I trust all of us as Americans to not let this happen and not let this be our legacy. And sure, the answer to your question is, I think for me, the best thing in the world is the courts are holding the line with some of this, like the birthright citizenship. But the worst thing to me is what happened yesterday when Donald Trump went on the public stage and humiliated America by siding with Vladimir Putin, the aggressor, and claiming that, what Putin is doing is just like Hitler invading Poland. It'd be like Roosevelt siding with Hitler and saying Poland started the war. This is horrifying. It's an insult to our allies. It puts us all in danger. And that is of grave concern to me. And I'm really hoping that that there are enough Republicans, whether it's, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski should change parties right now. That would give us 2 more in the Senate. And then we would just need maybe then that would give us Mitch McConnell. He could say, fuck it, I'm not running again. And everyone hates me anyway. Why don't I just then caucus with the Dems? And you just need 1 more person. Have courage. And we could stop this bullshit. Now, that doesn't get us to convicting him in the Senate on impeachment, but it could put his agenda on hold. It could put the nominations on hold. And, they're not going to do that yet. But I think the time is going to come where we are going to be in a position where we're going to know whether that hopelessness is warranted or it's not. I never think hopelessness is warranted. Even Germany was turned around. But we are headed, as you know, into the worst of the worst that we expected out of Donald Trump.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned the hopelessness. Like, I don't feel that. There are times I almost feel overwhelmed, and I just take a breath and say, okay, let's go through the different things that have a priority of what to fight back against. But I do have concerns that people have expressed to me that, and for various reasons.
I'm not hopeless. Right.
But no, but I know you're not, but that's a real concern. And that's why I've been so tough on Democrats in Congress for not being tougher fighters. Because if you're not going to fight, if you're not going to be a leader and the base sees it, well, they feel like you don't care enough, or you don't get the stakes of what's going on, or worse, you are such a craven politician. You would make a deal with this guy to help yourself to win in your swing district, whatever it is. But that sucks the enthusiasm out of people. The fighters, it's why I played Kathy Hochul on the show earlier today, where yesterday she said to Trump, we haven't had a king here in New York in 245 years, and we're not going to have one now. And people cheered. That's what we need more of. That inspires people.
For sure. Kathy Hochul yesterday, Jasmine Crockett every day of the week, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez every day, night, and year. I mean, this is what we want to see. Of course, I know Sheldon Whitehouse has been tough. And oh my God, J.B. Pritzker out of Illinois.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yep. Really good stuff. So, I think I think that when we say how serious it isn't about losing hope. It's about gaining will and just holding this back, holding the dam, so we don't get this utter flood of fascism. And I think the other thing, of course, at the heart of all of this is the fact that unelected, ketamine addicted kleptocrat is essentially running the government. Did I say foreign born? That's okay if you're foreign born. But
Sure.
he also comes out of praise for white supremacist apartheid in South Africa, and this is who we have running things,
Yep.
along with Vladimir Putin. And no one voted for Putin or for Musk. That
I
is
agree.
that's going to be the Achilles heel, though, because I think people get that. I think the public does not like President Musk.
No, they don't. Polling shows that. And it's interesting what you mentioned about Elon Musk. I've said on the show, he's a U.S. citizen, but he's not an American. He doesn't believe in this. He's involved himself in the German election, in the French election, in the UK, Italy. He just happens to live here, folks. He's from South Africa, went to Canada first, then saw more opportunity here. If he sees more opportunity in another country, he will leave this country. He is like a locust. Like he comes here like an individual swarm to take what he can from us, and he'll move on. He is cancerous. And he just said,
funny, people talk about, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dean.
No, go ahead. I'll get you.
Tell me what he said.
He's at the CPAC thing talking about, and CPAC, apparently the C is for communist because they are the pro. Talking, Mike Johnson's there, the speaker, going, not another penny for the people in Ukraine. What a horrible thing. Musk goes out there and not only lies about things, but they give him a golden chainsaw. And where's a line he says? I can't find it right now. He paraphrased himself as being the Oppenheimer quote, the famous Oppenheimer quote about "I am the destroyer, I am death." The quote is, "Now I become death, destroyer of worlds," which comes from Hindu literature. He said it was a weird syntax. He goes, I become meme. And it seemed like, why are you saying that? And he was paraphrasing that because I knew that it immediately jarred something in my mind. Like, you just picked this weird syntax. He said it very calmly, and they wrote it as I have, and I listened to it. No, he was quoting Oppenheimer about utter destruction. That's what he was quoting.
There's something very concerning, and I'm not joking about, look, I think addiction, a lot of people get over addiction, get sober. I'm not trying to undermine that process. I'm just reflecting. At that CPAC today, he was wearing the sunglasses right when he was wielding the chainsaw. He also sat down and I tried to ask him questions, and he wasn't able actually to form a thought. And I don't know if he was high or what is going on with him, but you can also see this obsession with destruction. He's got two of his baby mamas trying to contact him on social media.
Yep, you saw that with Grimes, like posting online, I need help with the child. What are you doing?
And has a medical emergency. And I don't know why she would need him, but maybe he needs to sign off on something. He is not contacting her. Also, someone else. I mean, it's hard to keep track of this. And he just sounds like a completely self-centered, awful person, obviously. And, I think that, again, this will be the Achilles heel. We've got, he represents, as we know, sort of the techno bro, billionaires, branch of MAGA. And then the other branch is the sort of working man, white supremacist branch. And that's the Steve Bannonites, right? And they don't like each other. And, I don't like either branch, but let them fight, anything to slow this down. But I don't, these people aren't healthy people. And I don't understand why the press isn't more outraged by this unelected. They suck. Okay.
Well, corporate media sucks. Corporate media is, I'm chatting with Jennifer Taub. I do want to talk about something because I put in a list of topics here. We learned today that from Congressman Robert Garcia, Democrat from California, he got a letter from Trump's acting U.S. attorney, Ed Martin, who Trump is now nominated to be U.S. attorney in D.C. Ed Martin sending a letter on DOJ letterhead to a sitting congressman saying he's investigating for criticism he made on CNN of Elon Musk. And I'll read, he goes, what the American public wants is for us to bring action. No, he said, Garcia said on CNN, what the American public wants is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. Right? It's an analogy about taking the fight, and this is an actual fight for our democracy. He gets a letter from Ed Martin, the U.S. attorney, on letterhead, saying that it's a letter of inquiry to clarify his statement about that. And was he advocating violence against Elon Musk? I'm like, you're asking a person that is a subject of your investigation if you committed crimes. You're not doing that. You're just telling him, we're watching you. You criticize Elon Musk and the U.S. attorney's office. So, by the way, if you get investigated by Ed Martin, I'm sorry, because I did tweet. He has it. He's an asshole. He's a Twitter troll, Ed Martin. And he's been a pro January 6th terrorist guy for a long time as a lawyer. So he's still on Twitter. So I said to him, hey, if it's a crime to criticize Trump and Musk, here the guests on my show today will be committing a lot of crimes. And I tagged Ed Martin. I go, we'll be committing a lot of crimes. Come for us. So if you get tomorrow a letter from DOJ, it's because of me. He can come for me. Ed Martin, if you have the balls to try to come after me, or Jennifer Taub, I'll give you her email. No, I'm kidding.
Let me just be clear. That was a metaphor.
I swear to God, I will go to jail for the right to criticize Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and others will as well. And they think we're going to bend the knee to them because they're going to literally send a letter on DOJ letterhead to a sitting member of Congress trying to get him to shut up. It's outrageous. There's nothing criminal about this. Jen, why don't you tell people what is incite? When does it become a crime? A language that can incite violence?
Well, I'm not going to provide legal advice to everyone, but I do want to say that was, you've got different, let me just break this up into parts. First of all, that was an obvious metaphor, right? People talk about bar fights. There's no real bar fight. Bring actual weapons. I mean, I don't think he means that. Now, I personally would never, I don't make those kinds of analogies because I just don't, and I don't want people to be confused, but I do say F you a lot, and I don't mean that literally. I don't, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of metaphors we use. Now, in terms of, if you're talking about, Elon Musk is just an ordinary person, just an advisor to the president. It's not like he's making, if you were threatening the president, or arguably like the way Kathy Griffin got in trouble, then you're going to have the Secret Service investigate you. But if you're just talking about making this comment, this is not a threat. I mean, this is not, an immediate, it's the idea of being a protected speech. You have this, like, I suppose, I can't even believe this is happening with Elon Musk. People always say nasty things to each other on Twitter, and it's protected speech. Even if you say nasty, mean things to people, if it's not an actual imminent threat, this was not, and it wasn't even directed from what you read to me. It doesn't sound like it was even directed at Elon Musk. It was a more abstract, the base wants you to step up and grow a spine. I mean, when you say someone should grow a spine, are you threatening that you're going to do some sort of surgery on them and try to experiment and give them a second spine? No, it's a metaphor. Or get cojones if you say that to somebody. Are you asking them to grow another pair? I mean, come on. It's a metaphor. Sorry to get so literal, but it is a complete
Ed Martin
threat.
Is upset by, if Ed Martin's upset with what America wants is for us to bring actual weapons to a bar fight. Boy, if he read that Trump speech on January 6th, where we're going to be stuck with someone there who shouldn't be there, I'm going to go down there with you. We're not going to let this happen. We're going to stop the steal. Boy, oh boy, he should have some letters to him, but he won't because he defended the attack and defended the people who were involved. What a horrible person Martin is. And I look forward, he'll be confirmed because Republicans have no spine, but I look forward to his hearing. And I hope that the Democrats ask a lot of questions about this. And he sent a letter to Chuck Schumer about a comment Chuck Schumer met in 2020 about abortion rights, and that Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch, if they take the abortion rights away, they will pay the price. And somehow that's considered like, that's you can investigate
that was your quote is they will reap the whirlwind, right? Or something like that.
Release the whirlwind and we'll pay the price.
In fact, I don't know if you remember, but Brett Kavanaugh, when he was getting really angry at his confirmation hearing, said something similar. I mean, and I think it's a quote. I just feel like it's either a quote from the Bible or Shakespeare or maybe a play. Like it's an expression. I mean, do you really think that, we don't have that space laser to create whirlwinds, right, Dean? I think Waj still has it. He borrowed it from me and hasn't given it back.
I don't know who's got the space laser.
No, but this whole thing about
I just had the Secretary of State.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just had the Secretary of State of Arizona on Adrian Fontes, you're always a Marine. So I should say a former Marine. He's also a lawyer. But he talked about Elon Musk. And he goes, "What happened to punching Nazis in the face?" He goes, "That's what he said." He goes, "Like Captain America, we should punch a Nazi in the face." Now he didn't say punch Elon Musk, but if Ed Martin hears it, Ed Martin might send a letter to Adrian Fontes. Were you advocating? Now he clearly did not say punch Elon Musk in the face. He was saying Elon Musk is a Nazi, and he goes, "What happened to the idea of punching Nazis in the face?" I wrote an article about everyday Democrats should look in the mirror. How can I punch Trump in the face today? Obviously, I was not being literal. I explained in my article what I mean. Knock him off his game. Take the media attention away. We have to be unsettling. We have to take it to his face, not be passive, not just all respond. Go on the offensive. But it's a challenging time.
Yes,
but there is something
and it
good.
is about chilling speech, right? It is. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. But there was something that you talked about, and I watched a little of your YouTube today, the Jen Taub live show. You talked about the U.S. Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit, declining to reverse the 14th Amendment birthright citizenship decision right now. So can you share a little bit more detail on that, please?
Yeah, and I promise not to sound like a lawyer. Okay, so that either the first or one of the first executive orders that Donald Trump signed on January 20th was to somehow attempt to redefine what it means to be a citizen of the United States. And he's trying to abolish birthright citizenship. And he wanted this to go into effect, I think, in 30 days. So presently, under the 14th Amendment, as well as a case that goes back to 1898 from the Supreme Court, if you are born in America, even if your parents are not citizens, you are a U.S. citizen. That is what it means to be. It's birthright citizenship. And there are some exceptions under statute, like if your parents are diplomats and you happen to be born here, right? So fine. That is the law. Well, he wants to erase that. So, of course, when he signs this executive order, there was pushback in the courts, and the state of Washington and some other states sued. And the federal trial court looked at this. They sued and they said, "You've got to put this on hold." And the court said, "Okay, I'm going to put this on hold." This was called a preliminary injunction. We're going to preserve the status quo until we actually have a trial on this. Okay. Well, Donald Trump didn't like that. So he went above the head of that trial court judge up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And the 3-judge panel today or yesterday ruled, yeah, we like it. We like what that judge did. This is going to stay on hold. I mean, Donald Trump went in, looking for an emergency. He made an emergency motion saying, "You can't let this judge stand in the way of our agenda." And they're like, "Yeah, we can." And what they said is, but remember, that's not the end of the story. So they set a date to have a hearing for June.
Good. It's February. So that stays in there till June.
I mean, so I don't know what's going to go on below, right? But the Ninth Circuit is still going to hear the appeal. They're not going to make it an emergency appeal, but okay, if he's still complaining about this in June, about the court below, great, they'll listen to that. But in the meantime, I don't know what happens to the case below. But what we know is no one's in a big hurry at the federal courts to let him abolish birthright citizenship. So, of course, I think what's going to happen next. I think he's going to try to go up to the Supremes. And I don't think he has the votes there for this. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be 9-0 in his favor ultimately, because there are, I think that there are some people who might on that court side with his interpretation. But I think he loses. And, he lost yesterday. So he lost yesterday. And can I just tell you, there's this big fight. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's the big fight?
There's a big fight in the legal academy. Okay, so there are some law professors who are their fee-fees hurt because they're writing articles and writing amicus friend of the court briefs saying, yeah, maybe Trump is right. And a lot of us are like, you're a total asshole. Like, why would you do that? And they're being looked down upon, and they're crying out, and people are defending them. This is just an intellectual exercise. Don't you think this could be right? And it's our job to be academics. And we're like, we don't have to respect you. To me, what they're doing is the equivalent of Stephen Miller getting on CNN and crying out, why aren't you happy and celebrating for me? And you know what?
I know.
I'm not gonna celebrate your ability to use your brain to make arguments that are distasteful, racist, and undermine our democracy. I had the same brain you do. I was trained the same way you do, and I don't make those arguments. The idea that law isn't malleable. I mean, of course, you can make a ridiculous argument, and if it serves a racist, anti-American agenda, then we are not going to respect you, and you can cry all you want about it. That is my view, and I'm not naming names, but that is my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, and I saw that article. Maybe it was a New York Times op-ed or something, and I saw a Washington Post op-ed, and I read this. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And
Yes,
look,
that's what I'm
at the end
talking
of the
about too.
day,
Yeah.
if they could find 5 justices who find some of the birthright citizenship, like, because there's 2 prongs, I think, to the executive order that he signed, if I remember correctly from reading it, and there's some appetite for one part of it. I guess there's a chance. I would never advocate for that, but I could see they get enough right wingers to go like, okay, blah, blah, blah. But all right, Jen, before we run out of time, because that was very
Yep.
fast, we ran out of time. If people want to see your YouTube show, where can they go?
Just go to go on YouTube and just type in Jen, Jentaub. And I'm usually there 8:30 to 9:20 a.m. tomorrow. I hate to
Wow.
tell you guys, I can't be there because I have a board meeting for something called the Oakland Literacy Project. It's a new board I'm on. My mom used to be on it, and then I applied to be on it even before she passed because she was going to step down. And they help adults who immigrate to the U.S. learn to become literate in English, and also adults who grew up here do their GED. They're lined up with a one-on-one tutor. Anyway, I've got a board meeting, so I can't be on tomorrow. But if you miss me tomorrow, please go and look at my show from 2 days ago with Dahlia Lithwick. She's utterly brilliant. We had a great conversation about her piece in Slate. And
all right,
Dean, I
my
want to
friend,
have
thank
you
you so
on
much for
too.
being on.
Please.
I'm happy to be on. Just let me know. I'm going
Yes.
on.